Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. So as we talk about automation, specifically to robotic process automation, and we have to think about what automation possibilities and options are exist and what has been changing from a decade till today with respect to the automation. Since since these days everyone talk about the digital transformation, the digital disruption, and the strategies. So when we talk about a successful digital transformation strategy, one should remember that we need to tie together discrete moments of automation within a more comprehensive and end-to-end processes. The automation technology market is anticipated to bring the second largest economic revolution after internet, mobile, and smartphones. According to McKinsey Group, automation technology has the potential to impact the economy by 6.7 trillion by 2025, which explains that many businesses are, their core businesses are moving towards implementing robotic process automation. And when we talk about the robotic process automation, these days each of us is working with several share applications. Since most of the IT experts suggest that organizations have so far managed to automate between 25 to 40% of their workforce today. When we work on a several share applications, that means that we as a human to work on several systems at the same time to complete a task. Example, referencing multiple applications, windows on one screen, populating data on another screen, extracting data from one screen, and that traditional automation technology is usually considered with these more time consuming and costly. This actually brings us to the more of the automation traditional IT solutions because we always had traditional IT solutions with the automation, but when we use those solutions with the BPM applications, more of the business processes oriented, we found that the BPM tools have become relatively easy to tailor to service specific use cases requirements, and they still require the intervention of IT and demand that ways of working are adapted to suit the technologies being introduced. Rarely do tools offer dexterity of capabilities to fully eradicate the role of the human as a data processor. So due to overpressured and under-resourced IT teams, many office automation projects that goes in vain because of the dubious return on investments owing to the very small communities of users, or they drop to the bottom because of the priority set with so many projects ultimately to die. Another view is the procurement approach of the business have traditionally forward toolkit style technology platforms able to perform a common capability across the enterprise. In this context of process automation, in addition to the inherent capabilities found in enterprise resource planning and financial management system, business process management toolkits have emerged very much in recent years to augment workflows that span between discrete systems and silos of operation. And on top of it, the layer of robotic process automation helps it to get it more. There is just still specific challenges for the automation, and those challenges are not solely about the dexterity of the technical tool that are going to use. There are many other potential inhibitors to change that can derail automation project. Uh, the number one is the cost of IT, and change can exceed the anticipated return when applications may be used by only a handful of users or potentially just one of the users. And the time and difficulty of capturing and interpreting use cases needs can become an impenetrable barrier to projects moving forward. Mistakes made at this stage can cause managers to lose confidence in most of the ID projects where the manager lose their confidence with respect to the complete overall automation strategies. Another factor is the building on the return on investments, which is ultimately to justify investing IT and project resources can be difficult, if not possible. When it's not clear how much time and resources needed to build a solution or what value stakeholders will eventually enjoy once the automation is displayed. This is more about the challenges which we have used in the which everyone has encountered during the course of the automation. Now I'll hand over to Drayton, who will talk more about the implementation of uh, UiPath RPA solutions. Over to you, Drayton.
All right, thank you, Nabil. And just to check, can everyone see my screen? Yep. All right, great. Well, hey, everyone, again, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to speak with you all. As Vinay mentioned earlier, I'm Drayton from UIPath. And if you aren't familiar with UiPath, we are the fastest growing player within the RPA market. We came on the market about 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, I guess now. Had about 50 people in 2015, and we just crossed about 950. And really the reason we've been able to grow so fast is we are a platform-focused organization within RPA. We partner with great partners such as Royal Cyber, who are really, really talented in order that we can focus on our platform, and companies like Royal Cyber can really help organizations get the most out of RPA and really be able to free up their workforce to focus on higher quality activities. You know, RPA often gets talked about just from an ROI perspective, and it's great because you're seeing ROI in 6 months or less, often even 3 months or less in some circumstances. But at the end of the day, the reason RPA is so powerful is you're freeing up humans to do what humans do best, and that is think creatively and be a lot more productive rather than having to go through very mundane and repetitive tasks that frankly automation is quite better at. So today what I'm going to do is just kind of tell you a little bit or discuss a little bit RPA, the ways we've seen it be really successful with different customers, and talk about UiPath's platform a little bit. As I mentioned, we're growing very, very quickly. We did have a Series B back in March for $153 million, and that's allowing us to really focus and build even more functionality into RPA. RPA as a technology is growing and advancing very, very quickly, especially with the inclusion of AI and other cognitive automation capabilities. On top of that, we are a very open company, which you will find, and there are a lot of great resources, free training, etc., online. But if you look at these two quotes, the reason I have these up on the screen is they represent two different approaches to RPA. For some, RPA is a great way to free up capital. With a lot of the cost pressures facing organizations today, or cost pressures are associated with scale and growth, RPA is a great way to facilitate that growth because you see a fast ROI and because you are able to free up resources for higher level activities. It is also a way to increase both your employee and customer satisfaction. Again, when you're automating those repetitive, perhaps error-prone activities, you're going to have better customer engagements, and you're freeing up people to use their people skills and be really more effective in that way. So just to make sure we're on the same page before we move on, wanted to give a brief definition of RPA, though I'm sure many of you are already familiar. Essentially, RPA is the use of software and other services such as AI and machine learning to automate high volume, repetitive, rules-based tasks. One of the big advantages is the ability of RPA to go across different applications and different environments, including web browsers, desktop applications, cloud-hosted applications, SaaS platforms, etc. In essence, though, what's really one of the things that's different about RPA is it's solely focused around mimicking human activities. So this leads to a lot of big advantages compared to other traditional automation, which we're going to talk in a minute. But UiPath is designed in a way to be very easy to use and just to mimic a human process. So it's process focused and doesn't necessarily require the same large-scale change management activities that other forms of automation may do. But that automation may take place of different queries. It could be different calculations, data management, maintenance of records and documents, and even different systems integrations as well. So one question, though, with RPA that we frequently get is, well, what's different about it? What's different about RPA compared to BPM or other forms of automation? And why is it growing so fast currently? And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm going to cover a few of the big ones here. The first is the ease of use. UiPath is built on a Windows workflow foundation, and it's basically a drag and drop design functionality. We have thousands of activities built into our library, which allows even low code, perhaps not as technical as users, to be able to design some automation. I'm not a technical guy by nature, and yet I was able to download our community version, our free version online, and teach myself how to do automations within UiPath. So certainly on a low level, but nevertheless, it's very easy to use. We also have a recorder functionality. This recorder functionality is using our computer vision technology as well. It allows the software to record a human performing a particular process, whether it's in a Citrix environment, a desktop, on the web, or across multiple apps. And then it will actually put that into a workflow that can then be tweaked and run as a production automation. Another big advantage is the mitigation of typical IT challenges. And this is something Nabil was mentioning earlier. But you know, a lot of executives get very wary sometimes with large-scale IT projects due to the time to ROI, the time to value, due to having to work with a lot of different legacy systems or applications, or having to build in many complex integrations, and also the change management side of that, because it's overhauling perhaps the way things were done in the past. But with RPA, it works with legacy systems, it works with any SaaS platform, multiple applications, and multiple environments. And so it doesn't require that same type of overhaul as a traditional IT project. Another big advantage is the speed in which it could be implemented. So you're seeing a lot of RPA implementations in several weeks to a few months, which not only makes it much easier on the organization, but also allows you to see that ROI much, much faster. We also are able to automate over Citrix environments as well. So when you're looking at scale and flexibility, this really helps global organizations who are trying to have processes that may go through several different locations, or have a mix of desktop and cloud-based functionality and applications. The other big advantage of this is RPA. You can start small. UIPath does not have minimum requirements when it comes to bots within RPA compared to some of our competition. So we often encourage organizations actually to start small, get to see that quick ROI, get to see how it how it impacts your organization, and then be able to really scale. Our orchestrator platform, which is really the command and control center, can manage up to 10,000 bots. It can also segregate data using our multi-tenancy function. So with the orchestrator, you're able to be very highly scalable to manage a large digital workforce and audit all their activity using different data visualization platforms, things like that. We help organizations, and Royal Cyber helps organizations assess, and again, start small through free proof of concepts or free demos, things of that nature that can really help, again, see that ROI. And the next big, buzzword that you're hearing quite a bit about around RPA is the ROI. As I mentioned, we are seeing ROIs on average, most projects in less than 6 months, many in 3 months or less. And a lot of that's because UiPath is the fastest on the market within the RPA space to implement. That's due to our ease of use and the way our architecture is built. We're able to see, fast ROIs allows your organization to get that return and begin to reinvest that into other projects and reinvest your human capital as well into other projects very quickly. We also have the ability to automate both front office and back office activities because of having fully autonomous and semi-autonomous bots. So again, you start small and then begin to expand your organization, and you're really going to see return on those high volume, repetitive, rules-based tasks. And the last, which we're talking about and focusing on today, is that path to AI. In previous jobs and in this current jobs, we're frequently talking with leaders of organizations, and most leaders want to incorporate AI. They know their organization is going to have to incorporate AI or machine learning or other intelligent automation functions, but they really don't know how to get there. It can be challenging to implement an AI solution without some sort of pathway and dealing with structured and unstructured data, and all sorts of other challenges. The RPA is actually a really great way of moving towards AI because of that. A lot of AI and machine learning and what we're calling intelligent bots are beginning to be built into the platform, and you're going to see that with subsequent releases over the next year or two, along with other technologies such as Google Tesseract, Microsoft's OCR offering, Abby Flexi Capture, are all native integrations in our platform. IBM Watson, Google, and Microsoft's Cognitive Services are also native integrations into the UIPath platform, allowing organizations again to have a way of beginning to incorporate AI that's not too disruptive to their organization. So getting to see returns without having to spend a ton of money on a large change management strategy. One other thing to note, we do have a studio within our design program, which is called Studio. We do have an invoke code activity that's enabling the insertion of custom Python code to bring different machine learning automations into play. So there's a lot of advantages to RPA and ways that it is changing automation. Wanted to mention too some of the outcomes though, right? Because the what of a product may be really interesting, but the why is really what matters. And outside of ROI and some of the other items we've mentioned, you know, we're seeing within our customers massive boosts in productivity. Along with that, again, the customer and employee satisfaction is really increasing when RPA is implemented. It helps increase the company's culture and bring about a more productive and enjoyable place to work when you're not having to engage all day in very mundane activities. Along with that, we're seeing actually a lot of growth within organizations that are employing RPA, not only because of the capital gains from a monetary perspective, but also due to time gains, a decrease in error rate, and certainly an increase in productivity amongst their employees as well. So wanted to bring up too here just a few examples of some of the activities within RPA. Because we have end-to-end automation and even what's called hybrid RPA automation, where both semi-autonomous and fully autonomous bots can work in the same process together, you're really seeing not only the traditional back office activities automated, but also front office. So here are some examples from finance and accounting that are pretty standard across industries, and you're really going to see this within most organizations on the back end. A lot of accounts payable, a lot of document management, data management are really great places to start. Different IT systems where you're having to handle a lot of different applications is another starting point because of the repetitive nature and that high volume. But you'll see there's a tremendous amount of processes within really any organization that are going to have a big opportunity to be automated and have a good, solid ROI. Last thing I wanted to mention is when you think about RPA, there's a tendency of organizations to just look for short-term wins. And that's really not the best strategy. I'd caution you against that. Instead, you do want to start small, and you certainly want to take a step-by-step approach in RPA. But in any RPA initiative, you want to be looking at it from a broader strategy, because you're going to see the greatest ROI when you are dealing with more processes and more high-volume processes. So it has both strategic and tactical advantages. Like that first slide I showed, where two different customers took a different approach. But really where you have the best approach is when you're starting small, but you're looking at it as one step as a part of a larger RPA journey, where based on the growth of your organization and based on the growth and success of those initial projects, you're able to then begin to automate more and more processes, either fully autonomous or with the semi-autonomous bots in a digital assistant type format, similar to like call centers where they can pull data and things of that nature. So again, just to kind of wrap up, when you're looking at RPA, try to start small, start realistic, but have that first step as a part of a broader RPA strategy across your organization. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nabil. I think he's going to talk a little bit about some of Royal Cyber's success within RPA. All right, Nabil, you should be the presenter now.
Thank you, Triton. I hope my screen is very much visible now. When like automation is such a buzzword for the organization, so whenever you talk about automation, they want to go in, they want to accept the challenge, like we want to go end-to-end automation, as Triton was rightly emphasizing on the point of starting small and be realistic. So whenever, like with automation, you need to identify your ultimate objective and then refine those ultimate objective in the small steps of going small and take a baby steps towards the automation. Since automation is not a task to do, it is a journey, and and the journey of an organization is emphasized upon the engagement of the complete organization and the communication between the different verticals of the organization, where you have to initiate the automation journey by implementing and have a strong governance against it. So the better the governance you have towards your processes, the better the better the use cases you will be able to deliver for your bots. If you do not have the right use cases, your automation is not going to be successful. Because if you can identify, your pain points during the initial assessment, during the initiation process of the automation, that's where everything drive down for you. You have to have right engagement, the right amount of people, because when the buzzword of automation comes into any organization, the first thing is about having the right resources, keeping the resources up to the right skills, or either investing in them with their skill set, increasing their skill set, or hiring new resources and increasing your resource pool as well. So you have to identify the right resources who are take those baby steps and are ready to initiate the whole end-to-end processes for the automation by assessing the right processes and the use cases rightly for the organization. Now I'll just talk about some of the use cases, some of the things related to the robotic center of excellence we have in the Royal Cyber. We are still in early stages of implementing it completely, but we have some little success. So we have diluted our COE in two pipelines. One is the robotic pipeline management, and other is the robotic project management. Rightly so, most of the organization falls into the category of the robotic project management, because everyone wants to have quick wins, and as a service provider, we also want to have the satisfying clients by giving them their quick wins. So this is where we comes in with the right strategy, where we have comes in like by implementing the right use case, the end-to-end use case uh, in the 5 weeks tenure. In that duration, we simplified by going through the complete SDLC cycle, where in the week 1 and 2 we go with the simply assessing the use cases, identifying the right use cases, identifying the right processes, the pain points of the organization, and then rewriting the process definition document by taking the consent of the different organizations BAs, because that's where the real pain comes in. And then developing those use cases in 3 to 5 week times and testing it, because testing is something ultimately the core of any software development cycle, where we tend to miss more of the core objectives, more of the core scenarios, which needs to be tested from the end user perspective. And remember, bot is always an end user. It's someone who is going to change the repetitive cycle of human effort, but it's going to do the same things. And your release packages with those bots should be tested. And then we have to have the hypercare support, where we do not actually take the support on us. We tend to train the different organizations resources, so then they can take up their own maintenance, their own cycle of the maintenance in their hand, and from there they can move towards different prospect of automation. The other point is like the robotic pipeline management, where we tend to work on the order side with continuous order sidings with respect to the function heads, with the BPOs in different BPM applications, where you take one process to the another and then continually engage those processes with different bots. So that engagement will tend to have you the end-to-end processes of the whole cycle of the robotic automation. This is one of the this 5 weeks duration is from the Royal Cyber COE is mainly with the greatest common factor which we have implemented for multiple organizations in terms of different use cases and POCs. It may tend to differ, but it may tend to differ with respect to your use case or the objective of any organization. But usually this is the time period which we have identified can let you have the one right use case into an implementation of it using the RPA. Now I'll talk about some of the use cases, the case studies which we have implemented for different organizations. So we have implemented multiple automatic process for different organization, and this particular process was about automating report generation process for multiple spreadsheets. Since this client was a global financial service leader and they had their operations in 40 countries, and they are among the world 30 largest financial institutions, and the client provides customer driven solutions to banking, financial markets, and corporate finance arenas. And it is recognized as a premier lender to agricultural sector, offering a diversified suite of financial products, services, and expertise. So this client had a business challenge where their finance and product control team had to perform repetitive tasks uh, to provide the reports, and that took each member of their team an hour to complete it. And they had to provide 20 reports a day, and those reports were based on the rule-based processes with respect to their financial product controlling capabilities. So the role server engagement comes in with their, P&L, the profit and loss reporting perspective, where we actually goes by our solution approaches, and those solution approaches can be identified as like the RPA maturity assessment, proof of concept, and the real implementation of the process. Where we did we implemented our RPA maturity framework, and first we assess the business processes to ascertain the feasibility of their RPA processes, and then each process step was analyzed in detail to optimize the business processes in a cost-effective manner. And then the assessment also included the designing a compelling business case, because sometimes we have to redo the business case or make the use case more flexible and feasible for the RPA using various metrics obtained from the client, such as their transaction volumes, average handling time, and their core SLAs, among the other things. The RPA maturity rating as per our framework validated that this process was the ideal candidate for robotic process automation, and there was a subset of a process that had to be automated to demonstrate the capabilities of the RPA and prove the feasibility for the process selected. The assessment and proof of concept that took us around 5 days concluded the process was viable for automation and demonstrated an effective business case. So the Royals have automated the business process as per its RPA development lifecycle, and the Royal Cyber team, along with the client team, did the UAT and deployed the automated process into production. The client finance and product control team was trained on bot usage and exception handling as a part of supporting their routine operational activities. So the basic thing was in this, like if we differentiate between their manual process and the automated process. So in the manual process, the client product control team generates the daily profit and loss reports consisting of 20 individual reports, as I mentioned earlier. And each day the product control team imports 20 populated general ledger batches and web intelligence reports into an Access database and Excel files. This team then reconcile and reformat the data into specific P&L report formats. And these reports were then emailed to the front office for review prior to being uploaded into the head office web application. So this was a complete 4-step process, which were taking around 20 hours from their resources each day, because each resource was taking up to 1 hour per day. And after automating that process, what we did, we just put it a single step format where bot did all things without the human intervention, and then email the reports to the respective receivers. So on each day, workday at 9 a.m., the robot will automatically populate the report data for each of the 20 reports, and it then run the respective macros as a report for validation of data and transformation processes. The robot would further email these reports to the process owners, and the process owners can review those reports before uploading into the head office web application. This was one of the successful implementation of Royal Cyber with respect to the automating generation of the reports. One of the other use case we have implemented was a payment request services in the legacy system. And this client was another a financial client that were providing the solutions to unique data and innovative analytics by transforming knowledge into insights that help make more informed business and personal decisions. And that company organizes, assimilates, and analyzes data on more than 500 million consumers and business worldwide. Their business challenge was performed by the customer servicing team and took each member over 10 minutes to complete a transaction. Since this process is rule-based, so we had to leverage the automation. So there were like two dedicated resources from the client end, and they were, taking care of 1,000 transactions per month, which was quite a humongous task for them. With our role cyber approach, we again stick to the basics. First, our first step is always the assessment for the maturity framework. This time it took us 5 days to assess those conditions, to identify either our framework is going to be the right fit for them, or do we need to improvise it and make some right modifications for them. And then there were this automation to optimize the business processes in a cost-effective manner. So we have to assess, including the design of a compelling business case for them, take care of their SLAs, by taking the full-time equivalent FTEs involved as part of their existing manual processes. But in that, the RPA maturity rating as per our framework based on various parameters validated this process was the ideal candidate for the RPA. That's what we discovered during our assessment period. And then that implementation took around 35 days. So what actually were the thing in the manual process, they were taking like 6 steps. The 6 steps were like the customer service team in their manual process were logging into the system, into the website portal, and then the team will check assigned folder for notifications. And if the client is an existing subscriber, the team will manually change the notification status, and then the reminder email will send to the subscriber day after payment was due but not received. The customer service team waits 2 business days for a payment to go through. If the payment does not go through the customer service team, then they cancel the subscription. Now, this is quite a tedious task that includes 6 steps, and each step requires a minute level nitty-gritty to identify the status of the customers, their past status, their histories, and then what to follow up with them. By using the bot itself actually log into the portal itself, check the assigned folders for notification, and then it even check and validate the existing subscriber that was earlier checking manually by the customer service team. And then a bot itself sends a reminder email to the subscriber before the day of the before the due date, and then it waits for 2 business days for the payment to go through. So all these steps were doing by the bot without doing any human interventions. And if the payment were not received, the bot were cognitive and intelligent enough to cancel the subscription. So this was quite a tedious job for the back offices to take care of these subscription and the payment due time, and that was being able to done by the bot in quite an urgent factor. And then they were reduced to get their time by 75% of the whole activity, so which was quite an achievement for any organization. The another use case which we have is the automation of the onboarding process. This was done for the infrastructure services. They had a complete, a quite tedious employee onboarding process. In the this client was from the automobile manufacturer. They had a very long onboarding process where they have to validate the documents, then send the documents to their controller, and from the controller that will get verified, and from there they'll move on forward. So Royal Cyber team come up, within the 3 days we found the right assessment for them by identifying the right use case without any modifications, and then implemented the proof of concept in the next 10 days, including the implementation. That was like the total of 28 days. They had a robot ready for them, replaced, and their human intervention were all eliminated. So this was a 5 hours, a 5-step process itself, where it was not only about just identifying their SLAs and doing the things. It was more about like the people service coordinators were supposed to log into the service now open were their own portal, where they had to open the ticket, download the relevant document, and then coordinate with the coordinator, copies the data, and then put the file, put it in the Excel sheet, validate the Excel sheet again, and then along with the employee letter of offer. And if there were any discrepancy, they had to do the same thing again. And if the all documents were in the right order, the people service coordinator team will log into the Express HR system and populate new hire information into Express HR. And then it will move to the coordinator of the HR, which will further update the service ticket with appropriate status, send an email to the people service team, and update the Excel sheet, which was first earlier updated by the people service team. There's a whole navigation from parking the ball from one to the another, and then keep on validating the right information. Either they are missing out any information or not. Work quite tedious for them, and the robot replace it in like 6-step process were replaced within the 2 steps. So this is all from this is what Royal Cyber has achieved with respect to their robotic process automation, and we have successfully implemented these use cases for the financial institutions and an automobile industry. They are currently using these live bots in their day-to-day activities, respect to their onboarding processes and with their express sheet processing. Now, I'll just talk about the Royal Cyber service offering. So with Royal Cyber, we are offering like 20 hours of free POCs for any organization who are interested in the RPA. So we can actually help you to identify the right use case for you to initiate with the robotic process automation, and within 20 hours, with the help of with the UIPath, we'll be able to actually provide that POC, and then can show you the value of having the bot in your organization and how it can affect your day-to-day cycle and the benefits you will have with them. Then we can provide you more of, on top of it, we can provide you some complementary assessment based on your other needs, because we in the Royal Cyber have a large scale of different tools and technologies and the right resources to provide all kind of services related to the web, mobile, or other application systems. And we have our own jumpstart packages that can be emailed to different, different people on their demand, and then we can show the product demo with the UiPath as well based on your needs and requirements. That's all from my end.
Thank you all for participating in today's webinar, and have a great day ahead.